In Jim Miller's garden, Mother's Day edition. I look like I need a shave for Mother's Day, and I'll do that tomorrow. Okay, enough of that, and I'll just do a walkthrough in this evening. It's cooled down a little, and take a look at the garden again. So enjoy. Okay, go over here to the peppers. I think there's 14 hills of peppers, and when I planted them, I was kind of confused on which type. I had some um what was it? Serrano seed, and I planted some of it. And also I took some seeds from a bell pepper, and I took the seeds and dried them, and I planted them too. And these peppers, when they're this was last like February or even earlier, and peppers, they just sometimes they'll just sit in the pot inside and they won't germinate, and then you might add more on top of them. So there was just a bunch of peppers, and I don't know what these are, but I'm starting to lean towards these being bell peppers. I was looking at my Serrano peppers from other years, and they have a real narrow stem, and that one down there has a thicker stem. So I'm leaning that uh, towards that these may be all bell peppers or some bell peppers. I'd like to have some serranos and bells to be to make me happy, but if they're all bells, I won't care that much. If they're all serranos, I'll be kind of disappointed. But we'll see in the next week or few weeks. They'll kind of reveal themselves of what type they are. But right now, I'm leaning that there is some bell peppers in this 14 hill group, and I planted a volunteer tomato where one of the peppers died. It's starting to bloom, so that's good. And next is a row of tomatoes. What is there? Is there nine in this row? There's one here. Bugs got to the stuff on the upper end, and it was slow getting going, and he survived. And this the tomato that tomato was really struggling, and now it's doing good. So let's see. Maybe there's 10. There's five. No, there's nine. Nine tomatoes, more tomatoes, and I'm running out of cages. I'm running out of tomato cages, so I'm thinking of taking a couple steel posts and drive them at each end and take wire or string or whatever I can find and just keep them inside the on each side. I'll have the wire going, and I'll wrap it and go higher and higher and see what. Oh, there's four viewers. Let's start some chats. One like, good. So that's good. Any of these blooming? This one's big. I don't know. I don't know what. No blooms. No blooms on those. This was my last group of tomatoes I put out, and they don't seem to be blooming yet. I don't see much for buds either, but they'll come along. They'll get there. We got a long season. So next, what is this? Cabbages. It's kind of funny that these down here are small, but you go up here and these up here are they're planted the same day, and these up here are large. And these larger ones look like they're going to be flat Dutch. And there's one up here. This one was slow going because I think the bugs were eating it. So, and they're a bit crowded. I was running out of room in the garden, And uh, I think, oh, this one, there's two cabbages because I think the roots were really tied together. And there was a Napa cabbage down there already. So I just kept them together. Here's a volunteer potato. Had potatoes here last year, and there's a little potato growing. 4 viewers, they're hanging on. Let's have some chats and some likes. So, okay, next is red potatoes. Um, this is one of my like the middle group. This is like maybe probably the third. Wait, well, there's one. Oh, that's the first group's over. The first group's over there, and and I think the second is up there. This is like the third group of potatoes, and these are really looking good. I probably plant them right the ideal time to plant potatoes, and they're starting to push up the dirt. So there's potatoes down there getting bigger, and they look ideal. Actually, they look really good. This group. So and part of the problem with probably the cabbage, everything is still a little bit shorter on this end of the garden because of these trees back here. These even though there's no leaves on them during the winter, because a lot of this stuff was out here before the leaves came on, they still block enough light to just get them a little bit shorter. So I had to deal with that last few years. And because what is this? I think this part of the garden right here is my third year in it, and I'm still feeling it out, whatever grows the best. So six, ooh, three thumbs up, great. Okay, chats. Uh, Tufteds 12 said hi, hello. They there's some wild names in here. Yes. They oh boy. This is- that person said, uh-huh. I'm not gonna attempt that one. Keith Cheryl said, yes, King, sorry. Yes, King, no, s- so sorry nobody is here. Well, there's a few here. I got three thumbs up already. I'm happy with that. Like and subscribe. And next here is and there's George barking. Six. Well, there was six. Now there's five. Uh, Next here is my second planting of corn. I got new seed this year. Ooh, no, that's something else. Uh, Gosh, what is it? I can I can put this. I'll turn this around. It's nose high. There's an old saying in South Dakota that if it's knee high by the 4th of July, you're going to have a good corn year. I think in Tennessee it's a little different. And this is the second planting. I got corn up there. It's a bit even taller. So this is looking ideal, just ideal. The only problem is we haven't had the rain that we normally do. And these rows here have had quite a bit of water. I got the driveway up there. Okay, the driveway, the water comes on running down, and then it runs through the upper garden, and then it comes here under the fence, and it flooded this a few times. So there is a good amount of moisture in the ground for a while, but about 2 hot weeks with no rain and wind and stuff, and then I might have to start doing a little sprinkling on the corn. So looks really even this stuff on the end is a bit shorter, but it looks pretty good. It came up pretty good. And I planted, let's see, this one here, this hill has it only had 2 that came up and I put some more down there, but these other ones have got so big that they're shading it out a bit. So these little ones down here might not make much for an ear. We'll see. Um, so this corn is just it, it's so ideal. Got it all mulched, got it weeded pretty good. I weeded the whole garden yesterday. Uh it was a where I would pick it, I would reach down and I would pick it was after a rain and I would pick around the plants and then the next few days I can see that there's some little weeds coming and I'll go in between the rows. I didn't want to take the hoe out in the mud and make it the ground rough. So, well, really, if you hoe weedy garden when the ground's wet, those weeds will reroot and start growing again. So now next here is a row of tomatillos, and like I said, these came in. I think the birds had some seed in their poop, and they dropped some. And there was a couple of them that grew, and I saved the seed, and I like these. I put them in chili, and they're blooming now. They really have a nice, pretty yellow flowers. They're looking good. I had a row like this last year, and probably in about a month there'll be some tomatillos to pick. I think they go a little faster than tomatoes to get fruit on that can be picked. Well, I see a tree. There's a tree in the potato. Mhm. Can't you? Where are you? Where is your? Yeah, they break off too. Is that a pecan? There's pecan trees right behind me, and either squirrels bury them or there's another leaf, and like that one there, you pull them, and most of the time the root doesn't come out, and they'll just start growing again. You got to take a shovel to them to get them dug up, or they won't come back. Now, next here is my first planting of potatoes. They've pretty much got their maximum height. They've already bloomed out a little bit, and they're kind of like in a sitting phase. They'll sit here and look green and nice uh, for an entire month, and all they're doing now is just sitting here and they're putting on potatoes. They're not as big as these other potatoes. It's funny that the first potatoes put in the ground are the smallest plants, but they're just sitting here and they're putting on potatoes. Yeah, that's being pushed up. So they're not making vines, any more vine height. They're just putting on potatoes. So it's gonna be interesting if the tall potatoes are the do the most put on the most potatoes, or these here I planted first did the best. I'm kind of leaning towards the taller ones because they got more foliage to work with to get the energy going and getting the nutrients and getting a bunch of potatoes. Like this one here is rather small. It's a nice little compact potato. It'll probably be a pound or two there. Um, I don't see any like sunlight issues with these because this one's big and it's pretty uniform with the whole row. So I don't think that's a factor. And they look real nice. I think this third row here is like Kennebecs. Their leaves are a little bit longer looking. So more potato, or you just what did I plant? I think planted like 56 hills at different times. Oh, there was what happened was I got in a good start. Oh, no viewers, Lord. I feel bad there is not that much people in here. Yeah, well, you just got to stay. That that's okay. Okay, more people will come in and hopefully we'll talk. Okay, next here is sweet onions. This first row is red sweet onions. And like some of these other places at this end of the garden, this end of this lower garden, the onions here are a little bit smaller. And as you go up toward the front here, the top, they're a lot bigger. And there's been a lot of this year where um and look at these white onions. These are ideal. Almost the whole row is good. Um, and this row here is Georgia sweet onions. They're just a little bit bigger than the red. I This is the first year of these reds, so just try them out, see what they do. They're doing okay. Um, I wish they're a little bit bigger. They're about a couple weeks away from the other years. The tops will flop over. That means that they're done and they need to be dug. So when about three-fourths of these tops droop over, they need to be dug. And let's see, I'm gonna look look for maybe one of the bigger ones here of the red. I'm gonna dig around it, see what. Oh, that's some plastic. You're not very big yet. I got some, so we'll see if these red ones bomb out. I'll look at another one. I wasn't satisfied. They're not really that big yet. Hmm. Let's look at Georgia's. Let's find a big one. Oh yeah, that's good size. I'll show you the top one. I got a row up there that's a lot better even. But maybe these red ones are gonna be puny. We'll see. They got a few more weeks. No viewers and, okay. It's a nice day. The sun's dropping below the houses, and, like I said, there's a couple rows of white onions. White onions work the best for me. I think I had yellow and white for several years and eventually just said, "I'm staying with the white." They're, they're a little more they're pretty pungent. They got a lot of oniony flavor to them. So these 2 rows are good. They're a little bit shorter down at the end here. I think it's a lighting issue. I can't do much more. And this one here with these big thick stems, this is a sweet onion from last year that I missed. And it's an onion, and I just planted this white row right with it, and they're hardly t you can hardly tell that there's another onion from last year there. So next here, this is, a garden failure of mine. It can be used. These are supposed to be Napa cabbage, but they're bolting out, and I'm gonna have to figure out if there's a way to make it where they put on a cabbage like that. Not exactly like that, but a cabbage that puts on a head. And last summer, I grew some into the fall and winter, and they were the they weren't as they bolted too, but they bolted later. They to get big leaves and it looked like they were gonna make a head, but they didn't. So maybe it's the wrong kind of seed or I don't know. But I can take the leaves and use them though. I mean, it's not ideal, but I can take these leaves and we use them. I use them in hot pot and they taste really good with meats and like onions and green peppers and so, but I got a whole bunch of stuff in the fridge of this, and I got cabbage leaves that bolted, cabbages that bolted, and I really like the cabbage leaves in hot pot. So that was kind of surprise. So that was a surprise, and that tastes good with a hot pot. And it's sad that there's no one watching, but I'll just keep going. This is gonna be my archive. Right here is this is looks very much like a Jersey Wakefield cabbage. I started these cabbages when was it? It was probably in like June to July last summer, and I put them in. I think I just put them in planters by the house, and it was a hot, very hot summer, and I put them in an area where they only got sun. Um, just a few hours of the day, and then when it got a little bit when they had it it's got to a point where they had to be put in the garden. They were getting pretty big. So this is one of my ones that actually made a head, and I can see it splitting. That means that there's, like, flower buds in the head that it's starting to bolt, and I need to get that cut here, within the next couple days and get it in the fridge. I got 3 other cabbage to use up. So, this one was like 4th in line. And, okay, next, here's some more. These are volunteer tomatoes I felt sorry for. And I, but there's 4 little hills here. I think there's 2 plants there. And I think the bottom 2 have a couple plants. So they're growing good. I see buds on this one. Volunteer tomatoes. I'm coining a term for them now, and I call them weed tomatoes. They're more like a weed. They're branchier, but they do put tomatoes on, and some of them are actually they do put on normal sized type tomatoes. Like last year, I had some Cherokee purples that were volunteer. They did okay, and some yellow tomatoes, and they did quite well. Next here is my second broccoli, and I got these, maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago at Walmart, and they're growing pretty good. They're fairly tiny when I got them, so they probably, tripled or quadrupled their size. So, okay, I'm gonna go down here to the next go to the end of this other side patch along the I got a long strip here in the backyard. Starts at the concrete and it goes all the way down here where there's not a lot of sun. So here is purple sweet potatoes. Last fall on our sweet potatoes, I took 4 little snippets of the ends. I put them in the pots, water them real good, and they'll take. And I'll keep them inside all winter. And I bring them out. I brought them out in March after, I think it was after that last frost cleared, and they just sort of sat here for like this is May, so like what part of March I put them out? Probably mid. Yeah, it was like the 10th or so. towards the 15th. I'm pretty sure it was around then. I put these, and they just sort of sat here, and they just didn't do much growing. They just sat, and now the last couple weeks they're starting to grow, and they're going to take up this whole. They're just going to grow everywhere. They'll probably climb the fence. They'll go out here in the lawn, and they'll probably try to get on my corn over here. I just planted corn yesterday. I planted 5 rows. No, yeah, actually, when you look at it this way, 3 rows with 5 hills, and the squirrels, they haven't got into, they weren't getting into them yet, but there's a lot of squirrels around, and they like digging up corn. So to make sure they don't do much damage, I put these uh, little screens on, I guess it's chicken. I don't know if it's chicken wire or what, but um, I had a big squirrel problem, and hey, there's a viewer. Hey, like and subscribe. I was getting worried there. Okay. And 2018, the squirrels, uh, they were they were taking, like 3-inch corn. Yeah, that person left and they came back. Okay, they would take seedling corn, and they would pull it up and try to get what was left of the seed, and that made me very angry. And I got some traps, and I do away with them, and I plant them in the garden. They probably make a nice tomato with a tomato with a squirrel underneath probably makes a good tomato. So I planted this yesterday. I plant 5 seeds to get 3 or 4. Um, the seed I got this year is a little less less germination than my last pack. So I'm putting 5 in. I think in the bag says 80% germination, so it's kind of following that what they say. And let's see, yesterday I planted them. I think maybe in 5 days I'll start seeing a little corn. It's a little stick that pokes up out of the soil. It's kind of my favorite thing to watch emerge in the garden is corn, because you can walk by in the morning, and then that evening you come and you see almost an inch high uh, seedling pop up really fast. So corn, especially down here in the south in the summer, it can really grow fast. So, and this is my fourth corn that I planted, fourth group of corn. I might get last year I got 7. The seventh planting was very poor, so maybe I'll get 7 this year, and that seventh one would be half decent, but we'll see. Next is bell peppers. I think I got these at UGO, United Grocery Outlet. And I was watching this guy on YouTube. I think it's Garden Like a Viking, and he was saying, "Don't put your peppers out early, and they'll just kind of sit there." But I'm not going to listen. uh, But I put peppers out early other years, and they do fine. But these sort of just kind of sat there, but they put a lot of flowers on, and they got peppers. There's one there, so I'm on my way. Let's see, probably under a month, probably have a pepper to pick. And look at all these flowers. And if those all, I don't know, I don't see any like the next foliage. It will grow out. It'll find, I mean, these, when I plant peppers, they can go to, until, they'll go till frost. And a couple years ago, I picked my last peppers on my birthday, November 29th, and it was a big load of peppers. So peppers will just keep bearing through, and they like hot weather. long as you keep them watered pretty good, they'll keep producing. So I got these peppers from my early peppers when we like do hot pot or I'll put some in chili. And so I'm within maybe a month of getting a few peppers to use. I think these are bok choys that didn't work. Yeah, bok choys and Napas, I'm not good at yet. I have to get the right seed or plant the right time of the year or some kind of bunching, tie a string on them. I don't know what to make because I want to grow them. Okay, next here, well, there's a small cabbage up there and there's larger ones here. More cabbage. I'm probably going to have to donate, which is okay. And a few years ago, I didn't have enough cabbage because I had a bug problem. And then I got Captain Jack's uh, Dead Bug Brew. He has two products, or maybe more than that, but they both work on the worms and they're pretty much spotless. Today I saw a good number of cabbage butterflies flying around. You get mad at them anyway, but you kind of know that their worms are gonna end up dead because this stuff is a sort of a weird natural product. It's not a chemical. It happens to make the skin burst on the worms, and then they're they don't do any damage. These are just spotless. So every couple weeks, I come out and spray them, and I'm using spray from last year that what I did is I rinsed out the container. It's a concentrate, and then I put it in a spray bottle, and I I open I it the stuff smells pretty bad anyway, but this I cleaned out the concentrate bottle, and I poured it in, added some water, and it smells like poop. It smells horrible. But the when it's new, it smells pretty bad too, but this really smells terrible, but it still works. And here is the next is, broccoli, and I got these, gosh, it's probably getting towards 3 months ago, and I've already picked 4, and I froze 1. My wife said I told her, uh, "What I'm gonna do with all this broccoli? We're not having hot pot because, we're dealing with my, mother-in-law. She's very ill, and we haven't been hot potting much, so and we're gonna miss one of our hot pot, people, so that's pretty sad." Okay, and I still got 2, broccoli. This one can be picked anytime, and this one here looks like it needs to be picked, like, next couple days. I'll probably get this one and that cabbage the same time. So, but these broccoli, this is the first one I cut off. It's growing up shoots, so it'll probably put out some more heads. But I just wonder if I'll just let this go as is and see how big the heads are. Oh, what the heck? I see there's a little sprig right here. Okay. I'll let that get a little bit bigger and I'll just cut that and throw it in with the others. So I just wonder if they're gonna be little sprigs like that or like be cool if it was like tennis ball size broccoli heads on the ones that come later. Heck, these might just produce broccoli until frost. I don't know. I'm not my wife is the one that likes the broccoli. I kinda hide it. I can hide it in chili a little bit. I'll put it in the processor with the chopped up tomatoes and whatever else I put in, and just put it in there. You don't really know it's there. but you know you're having some broccoli. Okay, next here is a couple really nice, three nice rows of more white onions. I planted a lot of white onions this year because they love it on the hot pot grill. You just put them up there and let them caramelize a bit, burn a little bit, and they're yummy. They're really they really make you add it with your green stuff I put in, and funny here, these onions at the upper end would get the most water off the concrete are the smallest, and the ones up here were some of my first onions to emerge. So it's a lot of things this year are a bit unexplainable. How the sizes of I'm doing really good this year, but there's some things I can't explain. It's kind of going against logic. Okay, and here is a sage plant. I planted this here last year, and I just clip about 6 or 8 leaves, and I throw it in the chili too. I mean, just add a little bit of something. I got a good formula going. Just keep it going. And here's my precious water collection, and it looks by the way the forecast look, this is going to be used up here probably in the next week or 2 or 3 weeks. It may be gone, and I might have to buy a hose. This hose here leaks really bad, and I'm gonna probably have to break down and buy a hose or two. And here is the lettuce, one of the first things I planted. I think it was the first thing I planted early February, and it's starting to wind. Well, I don't know if it's winding down, but it's starting those taller ones down there. Those are bolting. They're going to seed, and I got a little tub here, and I'm going to cut it here when I get done with this video. All right, and here's a little volunteer lettuce. I shelled it out here over there where that pile of stuff is, and the water washed it all around. You see, there's three lettuce plants up there. There's one right here. That's a nice looking one. So next here is peas. It took me 3 plantings to get a good population. You can see there's a pod here. They're blooming good. And I've tried peas here in Tennessee other years, and I just didn't get a very good crop. So I'm giving it another try since I've got more sunlight. Like that over there was a jungle. And between me and other people, we remove the jungle to the east and we get a good morning suns. And these peas are looking more normal like we had in South Dakota, where that's a good pea climate. And look, how this is lengthy. This is like that's waist high. I never had peas that big. Um, well, where's the pods? There's a lot of blooms, and I hope well, there's pods here. So we're getting pods. Yeah, it's and for some reason I got a little area here where there's one that died. I think there's like three that aren't going to make it. I don't know, but in South Dakota, I that would happen too, where uh, few individual plants would like die, and you just say, okay, that's just part of the game. But here, there's like several, maybe it's spreading stuff. It's infecting the whole row. Well, I'll just let it be and see what happens. Okay, next is these beans. let's see, some I saw these like 2 days ago. Yeah, they're ready to pick. I can let them go another day or 2, but this is a funny thing. These are Mama's beans. These are like what she had, and she there's a tree that's keeps bothering me. It keeps and okay. I planted some seed. Okay, this is what happened, and this is continues like the pattern. 3 years ago, I planted a row of those beans from Mama, and okay, they look like a bush bean for the most part, and some of them like climbing. And this year, I planted the ones that like to climb because I saved the seed from other years, and there weren't. I didn't think there was enough of them, so I put in more of that. I got in that same bag, and I planted some more. And these other ones look like they're just the bush type. They're going to have beans, but they're not going to climb. So these climbing ones, I gotta have to keep saving seed. So and they're very productive. They're okay in hot weather. They did do well in a drought. So I'm gonna try to keep a hold of them. Okay, next. Got a single row of white onions. We've talked about white onions a lot. This row looks like ideal, very good. And uh they look normal. They tend to do this during when they get this size. They'll just the tops will bend down, that's normal. And about the 1st of July, they'll be ready to dig. The tops will start flopping over. One viewer, one viewer needs to subscribe. Okay, next, I got 2 cabbage rows. These cabbages came from 2 little planter pots where I took a pinch of seed and put it in 4 little spots, hoping to get maybe 4 cabbages in a planter. And I think I ended up out of 25. I think there's 25 cabbages here, and they're some of these are huge at this stage, and they look like every single one of them is a flat Dutch. This one's starting to make a head. These here are smaller, but these down here are absolutely monsters. And then this one's starting to make. Oop! I made it crack a little. Uh, It's not solid yet, but they're curling in to make heads. And if I wait too long, the heads are going to be like I say we had some in what was it 2023? No, was it 23? I think it was. Well, they were like 14 inches across, and we did kraut them. We ended up doing the sauerkraut with them, and they were good. But I'm not going to let them get huge because I'm going to end up with a pickup load of cabbages. And next here, in between this here is a volunteer pile, maybe except the potato. Tomatoes down here, volunteer tomatoes. I think there's a right there. I'm leaving a nightshade plant, and that has little berries that are edible. And this potato might be where I had potatoes last year, and I didn't get that one. 'Cause last fall, there's a potato growing right here, and I can't remember if I dug it up after it froze or just left it. So it's kinda right in the same exact spot where, a potato was growing last fall. It got froze off. I guess it had a tuber down there, and it grew back, and it looks great. Looks really good. It looks really good for a volunteer, and it's grown out of compost. You can see the squash seeds down there, and I took squash seeds and squash seedlings, and I took them elsewhere in the garden. So, and I'll talk about this poor tomato. The ground's still a little wet there. That's good. This tomato here on the fence, it's got some pretty good sized ones. This was a tomato that was it hijacked a flower pot that had it didn't have a flower, it had a plant that was like a purplish foliage, and it ended up dying this spring. And well, I just put the tomato out, and I think that plant was pretty much dead. And that's a pretty good size. And I've already harvested like a couple months ago. It was in the house. There was tomatoes on it during the winter, and I ate. There's like two tomatoes, and there was like that size, and one got ripe, and other one when I picked the ripe one, the other one came with it, so I just had to throw it in the chili pot. So it's it's looking better than it has. It's had a hard fight, and the birds sure like pooping on it, and they like to. And here's another. I'm pretty sure this is a volunteer tomato. It This one came up in one of my planters. I planted my seeds, the the peppers, the tomatoes, the cabbages, and probably like bok choy and other stuff. And it's got tomatoes on it too. This looks like a what I call a weed tomato. It's a second generation or even third or fourth generation. It must have somehow a volunteer seed got in one of the plant pots, and it was the only thing growing in it. And I brought this here out here. I planted this one with the cabbages, and maybe it was late February, and I had to cover it a few times because of those cold spells. And it's a weed tomato. It's gonna have a bunch of little tomatoes for the chili and whatnot. Next here is carrots, and this is probably the biggest carrots I've had that were planted in the spring. I've had carrots where I overwintered. I would plant them in the fall, and they would kind of look like this about in April, May, and I would dig them. And these are already very good size. This almost looks like late June carrots that I've grown down here. So they're looking good. May have to dig them. I think last year I dug them towards August. I dug my carrots from the spring, and pretty good population. I thought they were a bit thin, but I knew they were going to fill in. And here's this volunteer lettuce that I left in there, and I'm going to cut that off here in a short while. Okay, I got a volunteer cabbage that's finishing out this row. Oh, there's a nightshade. Probably have to pull him. Anybody want a cabbage? There's going to be so many. Next, here's my a sweet onion row, Georgia sweet onions, that from top to bottom is absolutely like perfect. Um, these here you don't see the onion, but up here you see like four of them all squeezing on each other. And I assume the way these tops look, even they might even be larger onions down there under the mulch. The mulch kind of blew away, washed away up here on the top. So I just left it be, And I see in videos and stuff, a lot of people plant their onions exposed like this and they look huge. So I just don't like putting onions at the top because I'm used to in South Dakota, we have these strong winds, wind driven rain. It would wash them out of the ground. I was always taught to plant them an inch or so in the ground, and I just keep doing that. And but these here, they were planted, inch or so, then the soil kind of eroded away, and they're nice to look at. And I'm out of onions, so I'm about out of onions, so I might get tempted to pull one of them. But I like to wait until the tops flop over, get the maximum size. Next here is my first planting of corn, but it came up right real thin. And I added, when I planted my second corn, I planted this the same day. I added the corn back. And the earlier ones, this one's tasseling. And I'm concerned about this little, I don't know what that is, a burn. It looks kind of like what I get in the late summer with corn, but it's different. It's a kind of a mosaic or it's some kind of, it's when there's a lot of fungus around or it's, and it, if it doesn't get any worse, we're fine. But here is a numerous, like where the ears come, the silks come out. It's like there's only going to be like two or three of them that have silks. If this plant doesn't crash on me. Now here's another one that's tasseling. That's and these are supposed to be um they're oh yeah, golden bantam. And here's some other golden bantam. And there's you can see these ones that are purple. They got purple stalks. Those are the later ones that I think got two viewers. Sit back and watch. Don't be scared. Stay and watch. And these two hills here, I know there were nothing came up on the first planting, and then I put in looks like there's 5. Yeah, there's 5 stalks. I planted 5 seeds here, and they all came up, and I think I did the same here. I got that's 4, okay, and here's I think this one's got 3. Those are I think that one was blank on the second planting. Maybe all 4 of these were, because I don't see any, like it's hard to tell. Okay, let's just walk down this. 2 viewers, stay and chat. And I don't know, for some reason, these stalks are very, like, very noticeably smaller. There was a cabbage right there. I pulled it. Maybe the cabbage was taking nutrients and water, and now they look good. They're growing pretty fast, and I don't see the yellowing. I've had problems with corn, like having a yellow, not a healthy green look. Those look fine. And all I want is some ears on those. I don't care if it's late or it's short, as long as it's got an ear. Okay, here's a mixture. Here's yeah, this now these the early planting here wasn't golden bantam, it was some other variety a little bit later, and it came up a little better than the golden bantam, but I still put in later corn. This is just a very, very nice looking area in the corn. There's I can hardly tell which is the late corn and the now this here is a early planting because it's got suckers. If you have corn and it's thin, the plant notices that there's no competition and they'll put out a bunch of suckers because it'll help pollinate. If you have a corn stalk by itself, it won't pollinate very well because if there's just one tassel and that's the only tassel in the area, you'll get maybe a few kernels on the corn, especially if the wind's bad the week that it's tasseling. And a lot of these decided to put out suckers, and the suckers will have a tassel too. And I'm just going to leave it. This one down here's got suckers. That's kind of funny. This purple one's a later planting, and this one here, I'm very sure because there was about two plants that I can see. I sprayed for that. There's earworm damage. They start on the leaves and they scrape, and I did spray for them. And seems like earlier every year that they seem to like the earworms come in, so I'm spraying from the get go. Uh, yeah, look at you can see that these stalks here are different color. There's the purple and and they're the same size now. So the later corn never had corn this height ever that I've grown and this tall this early. So this may get it may get 7 feet, some of these stalks. So next, I'll go through my squashes. I'm gonna go until dark, and I'm gonna be cutting lettuce in the dark. So here, okay, this is butternut squash, and I have an issue. This potato decided to be a monster. Oh gosh, it's pushing up dirt. That one's pushing up dirt. There's gonna be these might have a lot of these might have a large potatoes. So it's right next. I planted these squash, and at the top there is a cantaloupe. And I was gonna say, well, after the potatoes are done, the squash can branch out. So I ended up with a very large. This is waist high potatoes. This plant here, it's not really hurting them yet, and these squash will start crawling around, and I probably can crawl them in the corn a little bit too. They won't get a lot of light, but they'll be uh, spread out a little. Next, this which is which? Oh, this this is zucchini. I'm gonna start looking for buds. The buds usually start at the base. Yeah, I see flower. I see buds. Yeah, zucchini. They don't. I think it's because it's still early. It's not. They're not particularly growing terribly fast. And once they get going, they get a real dark green leaves, and those zucchinis will pop on. They'll be 2 inches long, and the next day they're 5 inches long. So you got to grab them the size you want. Now here is a squash that Nana had liked for hot pot, and it's a very sweet. It's a it's probably it's an Asian cabbage. It's doing really good. And I took a seed from our cabbage we cut up, and I grew some last summer, and they got fairly big. They got like I don't know how do you explain the size. A little bit bigger than a softball size, but when she bought those, they were like twice as big. There's a screw down here. I better grab that. The screw's loose. Get in the right position. I might be able to. I might need that for something. That's an eye screw. Just came from somewhere. Okay. And okay, this is looking really good. They're really starting to crawl out. It seems to be a little bit well because the potatoes ain't monsters up here. That the squash has a little bit more light, and there's more light here anyway because the shed's blocking light. The squash down there have a fairly big disadvantage. The corn's going to be big. The potatoes are going to be there another month, and these squash are just going to have to find a way to survive that and then do well after all these things are like this corn. This corn's got maybe a month and a half at the most to go. The potato, it's got a month or so. Uh, See, I'm not gonna. There's gonna be now with the zucchini. Zucchinis kind of stay in one spot. They don't crawl out a lot, but they do get big and bushy, so that won't be too much of an issue. The butternuts, I'm gonna take the vines and run them out the end where there's some room at the end of the by the fence, and maybe even let them crawl the fence a little. So I'm just gonna find a way. Now next here is yeah, like I said before, cantaloupes. There's a good 7 plants. These are looking really good. The leaves are big. I don't know what this damage look a little buggy. Maybe a little buggy, but nothing really drastic. And like again, this potato row. Some are big, some are small. We'll see how which one wins the potato, uh, the number of potatoes. Those large potatoes down there, they might put out a lot of big potatoes. This is a pretty nice average sized. It's funny that those potatoes down there they get cut off at the light about 2 to 3 p.m. and there's no more sunlight and they're the biggest. So, and these here they getting more light and they're a little bit smaller and this one at the top is a bit bigger. So, it's kind of a different planted the same day and they're all different sizes. Next, tomatoes. I planted these March 1st, this row, and they've been through a lot. And boy, this one here looks absolutely fabulous. I think they're beefsteaks to how this was an example. This plant, they grow a leaf, but they have blossoms kind of like on the leaf, but it's not going to grow anymore off of this, but it'll grow off of here. So that's what the beefsteaks were doing. Uh, some pre-seed from 2018. I think it's 2018. Got those at um, Madisonville. What was it? The something Shepherd. It was a food bank, and they had a bunch of garden seed, and I took advantage of it. And they still grow. I didn't freeze them. I didn't put them in the freezer. They they'll still grow. And I'm getting shorter and shorter on seed. And as you see, there's tomatoes on this plant that gets the most sun. This one don't have any. This one here has maybe it's the fourth one. That one don't have any tomatoes. This here where it doesn't get a lot of light, it's got a tomato right there. So this is an experiment. I said, well, my first tomatoes I'm going to put in the worst condition, worst possible situation, the worst, the fewer hours of light. And I said, well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to just say, hey, I've grown corn here a lot and other things, and I wanted to like rotate. And I'm putting tomatoes here this year and prove that I can grow them early. And these are going to be fine. They look terrific. They got, let's see, I think they get 6, 7 hours of light until the afternoon, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. That gets cut off as the sun going behind the building. And They look good. They're gonna be fine. We're gonna have tomatoes, a lot of them out of this row. What is there, 8 plants? Yes. Next, what's this here? 3rd planting of corn? Yes, I planted corn. What is it? It's been getting towards 2 weeks now. 2 weeks since I planted it, and it's these here are good 3 inches tall, a lot of them. And I had a little trouble with, like here, there's only 2 plants. I kinda want 3 to 4, and, well, I planted a few more seeds there, and most of these others got 3 to 4. Well, this one here, I don't know where I put it, but I added a couple more seeds just to make it. I might get, hopefully, I'll get 4 in each because here's 4, and this one's got 5. This one's here's kind of weak, but every seed came up there. So corn row on the berm. This is the berm that guides the water to the rest of the garden. And unfortunately, the berm hasn't been used a lot because it hasn't been raining a lot. It's been just barely enough to keep things going. I've been using my caught water. I would, take my watering cans and take the caught water and water stuff that I think that needs it, especially early things that are going to be harvested first. I said, "Oh, I'm going to try to make it more normal." And I know my water might be gone here in a couple weeks. So far I haven't used any city water, and I haven't had to worry about water until like late June, but this year I've been worried about water almost all spring. So next here, like I said before, out of the compost pile, I brought squash and pumpkin mix and just mixed. It's whatever this it's gonna be. This one looks good. I just took the cage off of it because we have some local ducks that like to dig around, and they haven't really bothered anything yet. So it's getting too big to cage, so I removed that. And I took the cage stuff over on that corn I just planted. And here's a cage. This is the neighbor's little cut wire from their chickens. And I'll just, as long as they're not, I'm going to move this when these plants need to crawl out. I planted this in like a real poor location. She put in a little shed here, and I'm going to get some guided out here where more sunlight is, and I'll probably guide some out here where there's going to get afternoon sunlight. So um, this is like the poorest. It probably only gets like 3 to 4 hours of decent sun, but they look good. And like what vine plants do, you can put them in a very shady area and you can guide them out to the sun. I've done that like years ago where that other uh, hill is. I've had pumpkins, like volunteers come up out of a compost pile or leaf pile, and there was had absolutely poor lighting. There was used to be a big spruce tree right here, just just awful lighting, like maybe 2 hours. And I would get a pumpkin or whatever it is, and I get up on that driveway, and then it would grow well, and I would get a pumpkin. It took a long time, but it worked. Oh, I almost forgot the turkey craws, the asparagus that no one likes, maybe next year. So, turkey craw beans, and I planted them, and I think every single bean came up. They're in the freezer, and I planted some of the original ones from maybe I planted the rest of them. Maybe there's a few more left, but some of the original ones, Mamaw gave to or the aunts gave to us after she passed away. Like when the aunts say, "Hey, you want her beans?" And I said, "Yes, I'll take her beans." And they're doing really good. They take a long time to, I think I picked a few beans off already, but they grow the vines first and then they'll just slam you with beans. And they're kind of a legend where they got the name because, ooh, I don't want to, I might break the bean vine by pulling that. Uh, yeah, these weeds never, they're very deceptive. Oh, come on. They like to really hide, and these will take root if it, like I put it there, and if it just kept, like it's not going to rain for a while, but if it started raining a bunch, it'll take root and just start growing right where it is. Now, well, the turkey craw beans, there's like, I think someone shot a turkey and there was beans in its crop and they took them out and planted them. And that's where this is where these beans came from, probably 150 years ago or even longer. So probably the Native Americans, Indians, they probably planted this type of bean and very productive. And that's probably, they probably had fields and their turkeys come and eat the beans, eat the seeds, but the seed will be viable if they eat it and then they, they dress out the turkey and the beans haven't been in the crop very long, they'll probably be viable. I would think a bean will not go through the whole turkey and end up viable. Some seed does, like tomatoes, tomatillos, I know for sure do that. So turkey ground beans, they're got the fence partially covered. In just a few weeks, this is gonna be all covered with vines and loaded with beans. So we keep going. No one's watching. I think Sunday's my best day, Sunday morning. But tomorrow we're gonna go do Mother's Day stuff. Next is another little volunteer squash pumpkin, but these kind of look a little butternutty. They look a bit like a butternut leaves, but I may be just wishing because I don't mind having some more butternut squash. I still got butternuts from last year. I got to make some pies. One viewer, yay! 72 minutes, and it's wonderful out. It's nice and I'm going to my raised beds that I built. I got to go around the yard, past the creek. Two viewers. Yeehaw. I hope I get like a few subscribers. Oldham's Homestead. I got a hard prune. Well, he's probably got some of his trees, his fruit trees, doing a video. Probably made a video and he posted it. So here's Sweetwater Creek. What's left of it. Oh, 1 year ago today, I was looking at my pictures and stuff. There was water up into this fence. So what a difference a year makes. There's water. We had a lot of rain. You got over the banks. Pretty normal thing. But this year, it's been pretty much that sewer pipe that's been exposed pretty much the whole spring. Okay, we're going up to the raised beds. Okay, first here is more white onions that the squirrels like to dig around. They haven't killed one yet. Oh, here's this one's got a bud. Come on, it's tough. You got to pick these off, or your onions won't get very big. It'll go to seed on you. And I still can't figure out why this these shorter ones are in a raised bed I made first, and every single one is, they're not bad short, but they're not as big as these that are only a few feet away, and all these look pretty typical of what's in the garden. White onions. These these are good and tall and normal, and these here are significantly shorter, and I don't think it's, and they were made of the same materials. And last year I grew potatoes here and they did quite well. So, and the potatoes pretty much were the same amount. That so it's something about the soil. It's sunlight is part of the issue, but not enough to make it like half the size because it's only just a foot away. It's hard to explain. So I might not put onions in this bed here for a while because it's not a failure, but it's a disappointment. But I'm gonna have plenty of onions. Next year, there's something that's not disappointing is these potatoes. I might walk down the row. Yeah, I'll walk down the row. I get up here. This is my last planting of potatoes. They're probably on average the largest plants relatively. They got massive amount of nutrients because these raised beds are made from like dead limbs, logs. Uh, but I start with the big thick logs and then I put brush and limbs on top of it, add like finer stuff. Like I take a lawnmower to the finer limbs and I chop it up and then I make and bring it over and then I put, whatever I can find, mulch. I've already put in two rounds of grass clippings on this. It's almost, gosh, they just like, oh, you can feel it. But they have really, it's only been a week and the grass clippings I brought over are just really, really have decomposed. So, I think these next to the fence are red potatoes, and these bigger ones with these, a lot of them have flowers are, I think they're the Kennebecs. There could be some Yukon Golds. I looked at when I planted them, I took a picture and, this row here was a light potato and that was a red potato, and they look terrific. They absolutely look amazing because they got all the nutrients, and I can feel that there's a lot of grass under me now. I put grass clippings, and with the grass clipping comes a lot of dirt and there's like I pretty much reclaim that lower to the creek over here on the neighbor's yard. There's still a lot of twigs and stuff, dirt in that, and it's just going to make good mulch. And these up here are just a little bit. These up here came up a little bit later than these with the flowers came up first, and these over here. I was kind of worried. It's like these were like 3 and 4 inches tall, and some of these over here weren't even emerged yet. I said, "What the heck?" And they did come up, and a good looking potato row. Ooh, there's a there's a bug. That's kind of like a wood bug. That bug, they crawl into dead logs, and I think they just chew and chew. And because when I brought a lot of the logs over, and they would break open, and there'll be bugs, big old bugs like that in 'em, stuff like that, and grubs and all kinds of stuff. So, good looking potato rows, and I'll save that. I'll save the pumpkins. I'll go through these, tomatoes while it's still light. Tomatoes, and when I planted a lot of my potatoes or tomatoes in the house, the labels washed off when I or just faded out or whatever they did. And, just like a couple days ago, let me get down here. I found out there were where is that one? Oh, don't hide. Where are you? Are you down low? Wrong plant? No, that's that right plant. Where are you? Where are you? It better not have gotten eaten. Oh, it's getting dark too. I'm set up the punch line and there's nothing to punch. Where are you? I'll go on this other one. That doesn't make sense. Okay, drum roll. Shoo, where are you? Is this one? I swear. Oh, there you are. We don't knock you off. That's a that's a Roma. So I had some Roma seed, and like I had Romas. I grew Romas from that same batch of seed, like 2019 or 20. I think it was 2020. And then, I used them up, and they're good tomato. They put on a lot, and I guess I was just planting tomatoes, and I'm very sure these were on two little packs or two little planters, and I got 8 hills out of them. And I think they're all Romas, and I'm kind of happy. The the old Roma seed still. Ooh, why is this down here? We got a branch that needs to be trained up the what do you call it? Cages. Okay, boy, 83 minutes. Hey, let's make it about an hour or 100 minutes. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna go over here. My pizza's probably getting cold, but I'm gonna have a salad with it after I cut. Now here's some pumpkins. These are from seed, so there's not like a mix. And I grew them last year. They're like the classic jack o' lantern pumpkin, and I put them. This end of the bed here is wider than down there because I wanted the bed to go. I didn't want the tree out from the bed. I just wanted the tree be included into the bed to make it look nice. And it's a little wider up here, so I put in pumpkins here and watermelons here. And these watermelons are fighting for life. I think they get a good 5 to 6 in the morning. And these potatoes are going to be gone in a month. And I'm pretty sure these watermelons, I'm going to probably let them, if they start vining, I'm going to let them crawl out of the thing. But when these potatoes are gone, I'm going to throw back the vines, try to throw back the vines into the bed to keep them off the lawn. That's the plan. We'll see. Okay, got that. And next is my new raised bed I made this year. Here I got volunteer squash, pumpkins or whatever. And this one I just brought over yesterday. And when the sun's shining bright on it, it looks like it's going to die. And then, I water it like 3 times a day to make sure it's alive. And like these others, they looked like I planted them couple weeks ago. And they look like, oh my God, they all died, except maybe two. And I think the one here did die, but these others lived. And so a lot of squash for a small area, but I'll just run them off the end and run them on the fence or run them up the tree or wherever they want to go. And I have it. Here's my last like empty spot in the garden. I'm thinking corn, like 6 hills of corn, and this is about maybe 2 to 3 weeks away, unless I get nervous about what kind of peppers I'm going to have. So I get to see what if I have the right kind of peppers, if they're going to be bells or not. I'm getting very confident that we have a lot of uh, bell peppers. So next here is a row of very crowded volunteer tomatoes. I'm gonna have to figure a way how to. I might have to put a post down here in the ground, and I might have to put them in a post in the irises. See, if I put a post here, the post is going to be short to the height of the. It's going to be a plan. I'll figure something out. Or buy cages. I hate throwing money. I I hate throwing money at stuff. Like these rhubarb. I spent $20 on them, and knowing that they may die in 2 or 3 years because I've this is my third attempt at rhubarb in the Tennessee, and I had like rhubarb right in that spot right here, and but it got a lot of runoff. And they say in clay soils, in humid, just uh. And then I talked to a guy that had rhubarb in a raised bed, and he says his raised bed rhubarb was like 3 years old, and then he moved it into regular ground, and they died too. So maybe I have a chance. And they look like real good plants when I got them. So maybe if they get strong and they drain well, and there's not going to be any water running to them. I'm just worried about that 2 month wet spell where you get 15 inches of rain. And there you go again. They'll die. They get a rot in the root and they would die, my other ones. So wish me luck on the rhubarb. Because we had it in South Dakota and there was rhubarb plants that were old as me. And I was like 40 years old. And the plants were, they probably, and you can move rhubarb around. You dig up the roots and you just put them to your other area. They so I was used to rhubarb being very durable, and I've had no luck so far with rhubarb. I would salvage the stems when they do die and use them, make strawberry rhubarb crisp. So I did get a little out of them, but I like to have big old fat stems 5 years from now from these two plants and have rhubarb to use. Okay, one viewer. One viewer in Jim Miller's garden. I'm gonna go cut some lettuce, and I might have a little salad with pizza. So, and everyone have a happy Mother's Day. The two viewers have a happy Mother's Day if you're a mother. Um, well, thanks for watching. 89 minutes. I'm gonna wait till it's 90. 90 minutes coming. So I like doing these. I have a Instead of doing a video and putting in the iCloud, I do this, and YouTube seems to accommodate to keep my, videos, so I hope they don't take them off someday, so I can look back, and look at my own videos and see, if I've gotten to be a better gardener or not. Well, thanks for watching, in Jim Miller's Garden. Happy Mother's Day.